With the 16th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons have selected AJ Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like this pick as much as I would have enjoyed having Christian Fulton, AJ Epinesa, or Kayvon Chason. Now that I think of the pick, though, this is a pick that the Falcons needed to establish. There is some pros and cons to it because the three biggest needs for the Atlanta Falcons going into this draft was a cornerback, an edge rusher, and a defensive lineman. However, with what's been taking place ahead of the Falcons, CJ Henderson, who was a popular pick amongst the Falcons fans, went off the board to Jacksonville at 9. Javon Kinlaw, the second most popular pick amongst the Falcons fans, went to the 49ers at pick 14. So this almost feels like a plan C or a plan D for the Atlanta Falcons. Because if you think about it, the secondary is the biggest need on that Falcons' atrocious defense. And to be honest, I felt like they could have maybe traded down if they're going to take AJ Terrell. Because I think AJ Terrell at 16 is quite too early. Because AJ Terrell could have been taken by the Raiders or the Vikings. But now that Fulton is still on the board, I think the Raiders would want Christian Fulton anyway. The Vikings would probably end up taking Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb since both of them are still on the board at this point in the draft. So the Falcons, they could have traded down with Philadelphia at 21, or they probably could have traded down with the Vikings as well. Because the Vikings, they could have taken Fulton, or they could have just taken a wide receiver as well. So to give this an overall grade, I would say that this is at least a B minus to be generous, but I honestly, realistically have to give this a C plus because the pick is decent, but I don't think it's excellent. AJ Terrell has the winning pedigree that the Falcons they need and they're desperate for because AJ Terrell has competed in conference championships, national championships, a championship pedigree that the Falcons need because they're still rebounding from the blown 28-3 lead in Super Bowl 51. So Falcons fans, how do you feel about this pick in general? Because I think this is just an average pick. Does it feel like the second year in a row the Falcons are just making these average picks? I remember last year at this time we were questioning them by taking 2 offensive tackles in the first round. But it could help out long term, but so far it just hasn't. And I'm worried that AJ Terrell won't pan out, but I'm hoping that he does because Vic Beasley, as much as we enjoyed him, he only seemed to have one good season. And Grady Jarrett, he's still pretty solid, but I'm worried that he's not going to be as successful as he was back in 2016. So overall, C+, average pick. But to be honest, I don't really care because the Falcons, if you look at their schedule, they're only going to probably win 4 or 5 games next year anyway. So they're going to be in the same position almost next season. Hopefully this time around, they're going to be in the top 10. Maybe draft somebody that has a high ceiling. So the Falcons still have 5 more draft picks. So hopefully they can address their edge rushing needs and amongst their defensive line in the later rounds. But I would have liked to have AJ Epinesa or even Kayvon Chason because AJ Epinesa would have been a huge deal for the Falcons. Because AJ Epinesa, if it wasn't for Chase Young, AJ Epinesa could be a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick. Kayvon Chason also has the winning pedigree, but not as big of a winning pedigree as AJ Terrell, which is some of the pros to it. So I'll see you with the next Falcons draft pick in the second round.